Thank you. I will begin with the research mandate. I think it's quite important that I tell you what this paper is about and also what this paper is not about. The research mandate was really to map what was currently happening in some of the Asian countries that we were able to research on. It's not meant to be generalizing for the whole of Asia, obviously, because this is based on country case studies. It's meant to be presenting to you some of the emerging issues that have been shared and the insights also that have been shared by the interviewees. And also we have done some preliminary data collection through an online survey. This, in many ways, is groundbreaking because nobody has done such kind of research on Asia in general. So we believe that there is much more to do in addition to this paper. It is meant to provide evidence to basically put on record, on paper, some of the many experiences in Asia. What this paper is not about, it's not a policy paper. It's not a paper that will give specific recommendations. Perhaps the broader recommendations are questions to discuss further, issues to try to research more in depth, new questions perhaps. In a sense, this is kind of a finding in itself. We have used 4 different types of methodologies. One is a literature review where we found that very little work has been done on Asia. Maybe particular research on specific countries, but not in the overall continent. We have looked mainly at English material, English language material, although in some cases, some translators were able to give us some information for the country case studies. We have done an online survey with the tremendous support that we received from Forum Research Working Group, and we thank them for that. And 6 country case studies where 60 key interviewees, key informants were sharing their insights during interviews, as well as 4 focus group discussions, mainly with returned volunteers. Of course, with any research that has a limited scope, it has limitations. We were only able to cover, as part of our mandate, 20 Asian countries. So, of course, Asia is much broader than that. There are different definitions of how many countries there are in Asia, but we were mandated to cover about 20. The stakeholders interviewed were mainly in urban settings. Basically, we went through the capitals of the 6 countries. That means that perhaps smaller organizations involved in volunteerism were not necessarily represented as part of this study. Also, we have not been able to interview policymakers, which I think probably is something that deserves further attention and future research. We have been able to do some online surveys and interviews, but unfortunately not able to select randomly our sample. So there is a sampling bias at times in our online survey. And also for focus group discussions, it was difficult for us to have access to the whole pool. So the discussants were provided to us by organizations. And of course, there might be some sampling bias there as well. So these are issues that I, as a researcher, would be concerned about in particular. For the 6 country case studies, we were mandated by our research funders to study 6 countries, 4 of which were so-called receiving countries, China, India, Philippines, and Vietnam, 2 of which were so-called sending countries, Singapore and Japan. But, of course, as we will see, there is a blurring of the distinction between sending and host organizations. For the focus group discussions, we were only able to do this in 3 countries, Singapore, Japan, and Vietnam. And now I go to the key highlights of the paper. So I will basically speak about the cross-cutting perspectives, the common challenges, and the emerging trends. Then I will invite Margaret to present the implications.